All right. Hi, welcome back or welcome to the Freshwater Fibers Knitting and Sewing Podcast. My name is Charlotte and I am coming to you from the frozen snowy shores of Lake Charlevoix in northern lower Michigan. Let's see, I'd show you the hand, but we don't need to do that. And if you're from Michigan, you'll understand what that means. Anyway, I am filming much earlier than I usually do between podcasts. I have some finished objects to show, and it just seemed like the time to get another podcast out. So I do have some finished projects. I have some works in progress, some future knitting projects, some new items that came in the mail. So won't be a very long podcast, but oh, there we go. There's Clark growling. It's storm. It started already. You know, it was quiet when I pushed the record button. That's how it is. All right, so I've got my lights on today. The last episode was a little yellow. So I have to keep looking around this one to check my computer to make sure we are recording. And as far as I can tell, we're 40 seconds into the podcast. Yay! You can find me on Instagram, Freshwater Fibers Podcast. You can find me on Facebook with Fatwool Co. and Roberta Ray Fibers. And you can find our websites, www.fatwoolco.com and www.robertarayfibers.com. Those are all the places you can find me. So, let's get started with some finished objects. Clarky, don't bark. Okay, so you know that I was working on, and hopefully in my stack of papers here, I might have thrown the pattern away. Excuse me. I'm not sick, but I just had my usual in the wintertime. The Mellow Sun Shawl by Isabelle Kramer. And I used my Fatwool Co. heavy worsted yarn in the gray color. Watch out, girls. And I got the scrap right over here. Oh, no. Ooh. Okay. So here's my label. Fatwool Company. This is the heavy worsted in the gray, which is 80% merino Corriedale, which is a cross between merino sheep and Corriedale sheep. So it's one sheep. And 10% Blueface Leicester, which if you look at the spelling, it looks like it's Leicester, but it's pronounced, I've learned, Blueface Leicester. And 10% alpaca from right here in East Jordan. And if you aren't aware, for the Fatwool Company, all of my yarn, I source the wool from Michigan farmers. And I try to support local economies, local farms with my product and make some fabulous things. So this is the heavy worsted yarn in gray. And I finished the Isabelle Kramer Mellow Sun. So we'll come back this way. There we go. I have to weave in the end there in the bottom. Really a quick knit. I'll see if I can get a little closer so you can see. A couple of modifications. I did not do the baubles down at the bottom. I did the picot edge. I did not do the baubles that are up at the bottom of that last lace pattern and ribbing, simply because with this heavy worsted yarn the baubles were sticking out an inch from the wrap. And I just decided to cut those off. And I did 4 less rows on the end. You start at the top with a tab You start up here with a tab, and then you work your way across. Very quick knit, very well written, very easy to understand. So it is a little bit, probably because I didn't use the yarn. I think she used, maybe she used worsted or Aran. I used my heavy worsted. So, and I did 4 less rows. Storm, you are not a lap dog. You can barely see her. She's trying to climb in my lap, a 65-pound Labrador. Yeah, there you are. You're not a lap dog. I know. Nope, get down. Okay. All right. So I like, as Stephen West calls them, schlankets. I like a big shawl. I like it to wrap it around a number of times. This one, so 4 rows, it probably would be an inch longer. I mean, really not a heck of a lot longer. But it is a smaller shawl. It's an excellent for a pin. Those jewel design closures. Yes. That would look great on here, but oh my gosh. And of course, it's amazing Michigan wool. The Merino Corriedale Blue Face Leicester. This is not dyed. It's the natural color from the animal. But I am very happy with it. I would make this pattern again. I would like to make it, I'm actually going to give this one away. I would like to make it again in a worsted, maybe with the same size needle, so the holes are a little bigger, there's a little more drape, but it's fabulous. Mellow Sun by Isabelle Kramer. It's a wonderful pattern, extremely well written. I highly recommend it. And of course, I highly recommend my yarn. Alright, oh, and the reason why I cut out 4 rows is that I probably could have gotten away with 1 more row and then did the picot bind off, but I wasn't sure. You know, it's big yarn, and I was, of course, the ball goes quicker the smaller it gets, of course. And I didn't want to open another brand new skein for 20-30 yards of yarn, so that's why I cut it off a little short, but I probably could have done 1 more row. I suppose what I'll do with this is that when someone buys this yarn from me, I will just throw this in as an extra, or I could ask them if they want the extra. But anyway, so that's what I will do. So yes, very pleased. I did take a week off of knitting, which will lead me into the polar. I've decided to name this quilt the Polar Vortex. It's the Polar Vortex quilt. I took a week off of knitting to help things go away with my hands, which helped. They feel much better. And I was able to finish this, no problem. And instead of, I mean, I have to be doing something. If you watched my very first episode, I talked about how I just have to work with my hands. I have to receive satisfaction of fabrics and textiles in my hands. It's just what fills me. It's just who I am. It's just what I do. And so if I'm not knitting or crocheting, I am sewing either garments, project bags, which I'll show you. I have a new one, or a quilt. So this, I'll back up so it focuses. I don't know if it will. This is, and maybe I'll try to, if I can edit, I will maybe try to show while I talk about this. I will try to add in some wider shots of the quilt so you can see the entire quilt. But I'm thrilled. Okay, here she is. can pull as much as you can see on the left-hand side. But there we are. The Polar Vortex 2019 quilt. I just did a meandering stitch for the quilting. So there we are. And again, I love the mixture of the polka dots. Absolutely in love. Bye. Absolutely thrilled with the quilt. This was all fabric from my stash. It is, so what I started with, if you're not into quilting or you're not aware of course you can buy fabric by the yard. You're probably aware of that. Also, quilters, in order, instead of just one of the marketing things that fabric companies do is they sell you pre-cut sizes of fabric. So this was called a layer cake. And but it's behind here. Anyway, so this was a dog. Imagine this is a square. I think this is a 10-inch square. So the fabric pieces were 10-inch squares. So I had this whole pack. It's the colorway is Moving on Lawns. It's a few years old. I've had it for a while in my stash, wondering what to do with it. By Jen Kingwell Designs. I believe she's an Australian fabric designer and quilt designer. I've made one of her quilts before. Pretty sure I showed that one. Maybe I didn't. I think I did. The hexagons with the little 9 patches. Pretty sure. I don't know. Anyway. So, my first inspiration, was my Kaffe Fassett. Storm the Black Lab is behind my chair under the quilt and her head is poking out the quilt. That's why the quilt is moving, because now she's coming out. Okay, I've talked about Kaffe Fassett is one of my absolute favorite fabric designers. He is also a knitwear designer for Rowan. Just the colors he sees and the fabrics he designs just take my breath away. Absolutely amazing. So I'm planning another project for, I'm planning another project for a Christmas gift for this Christmas. And so I was looking through all my books trying to figure out, trying to find inspiration for a pattern. So I found in Kaffe Fassett's Quilt Grandeur, 20 designs from Rowan for patchwork and quilting. So here's the cover. Isn't that gorgeous? Just gorgeous. So, and there's directions here, so I'm going to try to cover them up. This was my inspiration. Nope, wrong way. The polka dots. So the fabric squares with all the polka dots. Is that not focusing? I don't know. I don't think it is. I'm sorry if it is. It does not appear to be focusing, but this was my inspiration. And so I originally started setting it out where I had these in squares, but they were just too big. The squares were too big. I didn't want to chop them up into quarters because then I didn't want to deal with all the smaller squares. The Polar Vortex wasn't going to last forever after all. So I didn't want to be working on this past summertime. So then I remembered that there is a quilter. Her name is Jen. Last name starts with a C, I'm sure. Her Instagram name, her quilting name, I don't know, I'm sure she's on, I don't know what she's on. Besides Instagram, I follow her on Instagram and I've met her at the Modern Quilt Guild. Betty Crocker asks, And she does a lot of work with curved seams. And so then I thought, well, hey, what if I make my own template, which I did out of cardboard. And I put a border, and again, scrappy, wasn't worried about seams matching. That wasn't the point. I mean, this is a scrappy look quilt, so it did not matter to me if the seams didn't match. Plus, when you don't worry about your seams matching, the quilt goes a lot faster. So I went ahead and out of all, I think there were 42 blocks in the layer cake. Doesn't say how many on the label offhand. Yes, 42. 42 10 by 10 swatches. So I cut the quarter circle out of each 10-inch square, then just matched them up randomly on my design wall, and then sewed the curve seam, which I did this part first. Then I sewed the border here first on one corner. Then I cut the curve seam out, so I didn't have to deal with this little tiny strip of fabric here. And then sewed these together. Then I did match the center seam, and I matched my end seams here. So but these are super easy. I wasn't really worried about this too bad. I wasn't worried about this being a straight line. So then here is actually the square. And then taking inspiration from Kaffe Fassett, all of the borders were polka dots. I did not want to go to the store for more fabric. The whole point was I was snowed in anyway because of the polar vortex. We received well over 2 feet of snow in, I don't know, 4 days, 3.5, 4 days. The wind was blowing. We've had 9 snow days. I think maybe we had 1 before Christmas, maybe 2. I mean, so we've hardly been in school at all. It's as like anyone else in the upper Midwest. Anyway, didn't want to go to the store. So this is one of my favorite fabrics, if you can see it, this narrow border here. This is a Kaffe Fassett fabric. And so I cut that out, so I wanted all of my squares to be bordered in that, and then I already knew that I was using, for the big lattice, I was going to be using the polka dots. And I really liked how these two went together, and it was really inspired by the Kaffe Fassett quilt that I showed you, that all the borders were polka dots. But I didn't have enough. I ran out, and this is an older fabric. I think I've seen it available. I don't know if it's not paperweight. I can't remember what the fabric is called. But I didn't know if it was in this color, and I didn't want to order any more fabric. So on a couple of these, I used the gray, and I did it up here. No, can't see that one. And down here in the middle. All the other squares have that polka dot there. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a square quilt, 3x3. And I happen to have in my stash 4 yards of another Jen Kingwell fabric. So this is the back side. I have not put the binding on yet. So that's why the edge is unfinished. It looks unfinished. That's because it is. I have not put the binding on yet. But this is a Jen Kingwell. And so, yeah, the quarter circles, these squares, those are the Jen Kingwell fabrics. The back is the Jen Kingwell fabric. Everything else is from my stash. Well, just the borders, all the polka dot borders. I did all polka dots. But I'm thrilled with it. Absolutely thrilled. I love it. I love quilts. I love when I was sewing I was doing the machine quilting, and when you come to a big seam where you have a lot of fabric, layers of fabric because of all the seaming, the needle as it punches through the fabric makes a different noise. You know you're a geek about something when a little tiny detail like that gets you excited. And so I would love it. Zoom, just the machine's whirring along, and then it makes a different noise when you punch through the seams, and you're like, yeah, where's the next one? Anyway, so yes. Anyway, so Yeah, this is my pattern, inspired by Kaffe Fassett pattern, Jen Kingwell fabrics, and Stash fabrics, and a little bit of Kaffe Fassett fabrics. So, I love it. It's fabulous, I think. All right, let me get closer. If you grew up in the 80s, you'll remember those commercials. It's for a face lotion, I believe. Catherine Deneuve. Come closer. I've been in the house way too long. Okay. So I have one more finished object. I made this morning. It is another Sloop project bag. Is it focusing on anything? Am I even in focus? Because I do not want to re-record. Oh my gosh. I hope we're focusing. I'm really sorry if we're not, but hopefully we are focusing. So, I learned to sew from my mom, and she just gave me, I just had the impression that she was kind of waffling around between projects and not quite sure what to do next, and maybe wanted to sew some more but wasn't sure what she wanted to sew. And Mom, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I said, hey, how about I send you home, she lives in Wisconsin, how about I send you home with some scraps? And because I had mentioned before, when I make my project bags, I work with fat quarters, which is another pre-cut from the fabric industry for quilters, specifically for quilters. It's you take a half yard of fabric and then cut that in half again, lengthwise, and the surface area is the same as a quarter of a yard, but it's a square. It's like 17 by 20, something like that. 17 by 22, 17 and a half by 22, something like that. So I said, just make me some patchwork, do whatever you want, roughly the size of a fat quarter. Well, okay, and she mailed them to me. So I made this morning. This will be in my store shortly. Just cute as a bug's ear, and I just can't stay in the pom-pom trim. So cute. I have the white polka dot interior. This one is a little taller. Again, it has the box pleat. And this one does sit a little taller. So my bags are all a little bit different. But this is the style, the long and narrow. And I like it for socks and things because it's a shallow bag, so you can pretty much see everything that's in your bag. And this just does not appear to be, there we go. I think it focused. So this will be in the store shortly, but made that this morning. So those are just darling. Patchwork is darling. So thank you, Mom, for making that. And then here's the second one she made for me. Squares are a little smaller. So this one, I don't think I'm not sure. I might make it into the essential clutch. I could make 2 knit night clutches, but I might do the essential clutch, which has the canvas bottom, but we shall see. So here we go. Time is 2:30. The girls are not home from school yet, so I have no idea what she's barking at. Okay, so that was that. This can be like a record podcast here. So let's do works in progress. I'm still working on the Magnolia Summer. Which you have seen. It's a pattern by Camille. It's spelled V-A-D. She is Danish. And so a few years ago we had and I think I've talked about her before, an exchange student. And so I sent her a message and I said, how do you pronounce this last name? I've been saying Vod because Americans automatically just pronounce every letter that they see in a word. And I'm pretty sure she gave me a really short audio clip of pronouncing this last name. I'm pretty sure she said Vil, which apparently VAD is pronounced Vil in Danish. Danish is, even the Danes will tell you, Danish is a hard language. Just, the pronunciation is absolutely nothing like the word is spelled. I tried, and I was using, what is it? The app on your phone. Oh my gosh. Duolingo. And so I was trying to learn some Danish so I could surprise her family when they came to see us last summer. And I was doing really well, and I was learning pronouns and verbs. And then they got into more complex sentences, and I gave up when I was learning sentences like the horses are eating the turtle's eggs. Highly valuable conversational piece when you travel abroad. Oh look, the horses are eating the turtle's eggs. And so they said, of course, I told them this story, how I wanted to surprise them and speak Danish all of a sudden. And they said, well, go ahead, say the sentence. And I did, and of course they all laughed uproariously. So, you know, learning a new language is good. Everyone should at least try to learn something. In high school, I was fluent in German. I took 5 years of German through middle school and high school. I started learning German when I was young. My family lived in Switzerland for 2 years when I was in elementary school. But unfortunately, if you don't use it, you lose it. But I remember a lot of the conjugations and different things. But anyway, I'm supposed to be showing you works in progress. This is Magnolia. Oh my God, she just totally knocked over my light. Hang on. Hang on. Okay. Are we still recording, by the way? Oh, I think we are. This could be the best podcast yet, as far as technicalities. Anyway, so you have seen this, but I have made slight progress because I let it go with giving my hands a rest, and then I chose to work with larger needles, hopefully, you know, alternating the needle size. But here we go. So I am working on the bottom hem. It is a twisted rib. So here it is upside down. It's a twisted rib, and you do about 4 inches worth. So I probably got another 1.5 inches to go. And I'm absolutely loving it. It is looking a little small. I did not swatch, and right now my mother is smirking because she is obsessive about swatching and will spend weeks trying to get her gauge right before she starts a project. And I'm like, just make it! Just make it already! But anyway, but this is superwash yarn, and I have heard that it lengthens and spreads out a little. However, I am holding it double with silk mohair, which does not. So we shall see. But I'm not concerned. It's on a short needle, so it looks smaller on the bottom because I can't stretch it out. So I'm confident that it's plenty wide. I mean, look at that. So it just looks smaller up here, and it has short sleeves. So I'm excited. I can't wait to wear it. I talked about this yarn last time. It's owl Somebody Owl. I'll put it in the show notes. I talked about it last time, showed you the label. And Shibui Silk Cloud in Bone. Pattern is very well written again, very easy to understand. I very much enjoy it. She has a number of iterations of this pattern on her, pretty sure she's on Ravelry store. It was originally a long sleeve sweater. Then I think she came out with the short. Okay. It would not be a freshwater fibers knitting and sewing podcast without some sort of ridiculous, beyond my control. It just stopped recording. And I looked at my camera and it says, it stopped recording automatically. Well, great. I just watched the last clip that was on my phone so I could see where it cut off. So now I'm going to have to be looking constantly. So I was talking about the different versions of that sweater. The Magnolia Summer. The first pattern that came out was long sleeve. Then I believe it was the short sleeve that came out. And then, excuse me, then I believe there was a hat. And I have also recently seen a cardigan, long sleeve cardigan. And so I'm not sure if that is a separate pattern or if someone just steeped the pullover, but lovely pattern. Lovely pattern. So I could not resist casting on this next project. When I finished this, with all the snow and the winter, and I just had to work with pale pink and blush and whatever. So, and I have shown you this pattern before because I was thinking about making it. In Good Company Wrap by Espace Tricot. And while the pattern does call for Rauma Lamel Garn, which is a light fingering to heavy lace weight, held double with Mohair, as I am usually becoming customary of doing, I'm using whatever yarn I wish. And let's see, so they recommended for the Rommel Garn and the Kid Mohair 4mm needles. Well, I could not wait to use my Fat Wool Company yarn worsted in this natural cream color. If I can get it in the square, there it is. Held double with our Roberta Ray fibers. We have a new line of Mohair. And this is our colorway Spring Awakening. I just couldn't stand it. I had to cast these on. And then of course my hands started to hurt again. So I made a project bag today. But I am making progress. And I did go up. I believe I'm using 6.5mm. Nope, 5.5. These are my Chow needles, circular needles, which I absolutely stunningly love. And I figured out the stitch repeat, so I took out 2 stitch repeats, or else this would have been like 36 inches wide. I'm only an inch wider at this point than the pattern, so I did well with taking 2 out. But this is how far I am. If it will focus. Oh, hopefully the color is coming. I should get a little closer just so you can see. Oh, just the pale blush coming through from the Mohair on the creamy background, the creamy worsted weight. I did the first crossover stitch here. I'm in love, absolutely in love I wish I could just sit and work on this all day long because I just want to wrap myself in it. I'm just in love, and that pale, 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 pale touch of pink from the Mohair. For Roberta Ray, we have in the Mohair, it's brand new for us. We did the Spring Awakening. This is the only one I have with me. Geraldine has the rest. We have a bisque that actually is a lot like this, just a pale, pale blush, like the palest whisper of a blush. Peachy blush. And then there is a, oops, sorry, shook the table. Then the third one that we did is a lilac-y tonal with the cream. Just pale, just whisper pale. This is the time of year I just want to get the blushes and the pinks and the pale, just whispers of a color. I just love those colors this time of year. So I'm having a ball. I just love the shades and the gradients that you get here and there from the pink, from the Mohair. So very excited. I'm so glad I cast this on. My Fat Loco is in my continental bag that I made for myself. And that those two are my current works in progress. And the next thing I want to make when these two are done is, I will try to edit and add a picture here. It was published in Vogue Knitting a while ago. The Fitted Dress. Oh my gosh, and I can't even remember who the... Let me look up who the author is real quick. It's also available on Ravelry. The Fitted Dress, the entire dress is knit. And as you know, you've seen my favorite thing that I love to wear that I've shown before, probably in my very first episode. The long coat from Loop de Loop Crochet, the book. That long coat I made out of Noro Curion, something like that. Absolutely love to wear one-of-a-kind, unique statement pieces. So, this was published December 2017, Brandi Harper. So if you look up Brandi Harper, The Fitted Dress, I'll try to show it to you on my phone. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, wrong way. This dress. So that's what I'm making after the other two projects are done. And she recommends, forget that the whole table shakes. I need a new craft table. Cascade Yarns Spontaneous, which is a super bulky single ply. And I plan on wearing this dress. And I plan on sitting at dinner parties in this dress or wherever we're going out. And I just thought single ply, bulky, it's basically like roving. I was gonna look like a Swiffer mop. It was gonna felt quickly on the bum, the butt, and pick up and so I just thought, so I looked hard. I looked hard at all these super bulky yarns, trying to find one that was at least plied, hoping that I could at least machine wash it or wash it, and I wouldn't completely turn into a Swiffer mop. So I decided on, and I wanted a navy. I absolutely love navy. I think it's a nice color on me, one of my best colors to wear. And not just a dark blue, a rich, rich navy, like a vibrant navy is what I tried to find. Their blues that I found, they were just dark blue, kind of flat. I didn't like that. So I ended up with Wool Ease Thick and Quick Lion Brand yarns. Now, I'm not a huge fan of working with acrylic when it's a statement piece that I'm going to keep for a long time. But in this case, with this dress, just the expense of using, well, the yarn she used, the Cascade yarn, that was twice as expensive as this. And I'm going to go for it and use it. It's machine washable. And I chose Eggplant color. So, yes, I will be making a dress out of this gorgeous, gorgeous, if I can hold it still so you can see it, rich burgundy purple eggplant yarn. And I really cannot wait to cast this on. There is some crocheting involved, which if you have watched my podcast, you'll know that I started out as a crocheter as far as yarn crafts go. And I've got 8 skeins of this. So I'm excited. I can't wait to wear the dress. I can't wait to make it. There we go. The Fitted Dress by Brandi Harper. You can find it on Ravelry. And Vogue Knitting if you subscribe to Vogue Knitting, which I do have the digital version. So, let's see. I think the last, and we're still recording, I purchased some yarn from Loco. I have not purchased her yarn before. I love her work, I love her colors, and I have never purchased minis before, but I would like to. There are a couple of some Stephen West projects I have my eye on making, and the minis would be useful. Dotted Rays, I think, no, not Dotted Rays, what's the other one where he has a different stripe? I can't remember, but anyway. And I saw this pack online and I thought, just to look at the colors, and I haven't taken it out of the package yet. This was the February mini club called Enchanted by Loco. There we go. Gorgeous colors. Gorgeous colors. I'm thrilled with the colors. Hopefully you can see them in the... Of course I could take them out of the package now, so that we can see them without the wrapper. Oh, just the colors are so pretty. Really, really are. Come on. And don't they look fabulous with my quilt? Look at that! Oh great, now the phone's ringing. But really, really nice colors. So here's a green. And purple. Nope, don't look at my face. Aren't those gorgeous? Oh my gosh, they're all gorgeous. This delicate, delicate purple, what should I pair it with? How about these 3 together? Really, just gorgeous. The only thing, and I don't like, and the owl yarn that I'm using is the same way. I don't know if it's considered a 2-ply, and that's why it looks bumpy, but I don't like my yarn to look bumpy. I don't know if you can see the bumps. That's just personal preference. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the yarn. There's absolutely nothing it's just a personal choice. I like my yarn to look nice and smooth, and I just notice the bumps. So that would be my only critique. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the yarn. Nothing wrong with Hue Loco and anything she does. It's just a personal preference that I prefer smooth yarn instead of the bumps. But again, oh, this green. And look at those. I mean, really. Just wonderful. So again, nope, didn't make it. Apparently, my card filled up on my camera, so I just spent the last 45 minutes putting the video I did get on my computers, formatting my card, and I only have like 3 minutes left I wanted to say. But I can't stop the podcast again, just abrupt technical difficulties. We're done. Honestly, why does it have to? Good thing I really enjoy this because it has not been an easy endeavor. Okay, looks like we're recording. Excuse me. All right, so I don't know if I should back up or step forward. So yeah, I had some hot cocoa, Ovaltine, reapplied the lipstick, and I was showing you some awesome colors of the Hue Loco. Look at those three. Oh, these colors are just amazing. Why does it go? Oh my gosh. So, don't know if I already said this or not, but like I said, I've never purchased minis before, but I'm thrilled with these. Colors are gorgeous. Hue Loco, no idea, probably a Stephen West project. I have been threatening to start the granny stripe blanket, which those would be perfect in. I mean, of course, a gazillion things you could use those for. All right, so the last thing that I waited 45 minutes to tell you was that I signed up for another mystery club, yarn club. Now, if you've watched my previous episodes, I had previously signed up for a yarn club from Little Tailoress. It's either still Little Tailoress. I know she was doing dandelions and butterflies. So I'm not sure what her yarn is under. But anyway, I love her podcast, which I can't find any new episodes on that either, so I'm not sure. I can't find her. But anyway, she's lovely. She's in England. She is a garment sewer, designer, and knitter, yarn dyer. I mean, she does all the things that I love to do, and it would be great to hang out with her, but she's all the way across the pond. But anyway, so I always admired everything she does is pastel, whites and pastels, and just the palest pink, the palest peach, which I like. I don't like peach, but I like just the pale, just a whisper of pale peach. I love that, and that's her aesthetic and how she dresses, her house. I mean, everything is this pale. And I thought, oh, so I signed up for her yarn, and I opened up the first one, and I think it was peach and mint, like my two least favorite colors. And I was like, all right, well, 2 more months. And the next one had mint and aqua, or I don't know, but so nothing wrong with her yarn. Absolutely, it was just entirely my expectation. Nothing to do with her yarn. Her yarn is beautiful. As a matter of fact, I was going through my stash recently and pulled out some of those mystery month club yarns and thought, oh, this is a project here. So I will use them, just you know, when you have an expectation. But anyway, so I went ahead and tried one more time. One of my favorite European yarn dyers is Garn Stories. They are German. Garn, I believe, is German for yarn. Oh my gosh. I follow them. I'm shaking the table again, sorry. I follow them online, and just the colors and their speckles are so delicate, and the colors, and I swoon every time I see their colorways, and it's like, oh my gosh. So I just said, you know what? I'm gonna do this mystery 3-month club. I did the DK weight simply because I've got all kinds of sock yarn, and I'm trying not to completely make my hands useless by constantly knitting sock yarn. Plus, I'd like some thicker yarn anyway, some bigger projects. If you hear banging, my daughters are now home, and one of them is working out back that way, and she's doing a video, and I can tell she's jumping or doing something. So we're almost done, if that's bothering you. So I got my first yarn. Yes, I like it. Yes, it's gorgeous. Is it like everything else you see on their updates in their store? No. But I guess that's the whole point of a mystery club, isn't it? Is that they try new things and they do one-of-a-kinds or whatever. So, yes, it's gorgeous. Yes, I will use it. Was it? Oh, was it? I was kind of like, oh man, it's not what you see. It's gorgeous. It's purely my expectation. But here we go. And I've already taken the label off and rewound it. So, come on. Okay. So I will get a little closer. Catherine Deneuve again. So here we are. It's beautiful. It looks magenta in this light, but it's actually a charcoal gray with the purple on the end. And the purple is not that bright. It's really getting washed out here, so it's really not true to color. But the speckles are just gorgeous. Look at the purple. Look at that. Again, it is not that fuchsia berry color. It's an electric purple color in real life. I guess this is a little better back here in the light. That's a little more how it should be. Back here, I just wanted to get it closer to the camera so you could see the awesome speckles. But anyway, this is the first of 3 of the 3-month yarn club from Garn Stories. Just gorgeous. Yes, I look forward to using it. I don't know why I bother with mystery clubs, because there's never anything wrong with the work. The work is always beautiful. The yarns are always beautiful. It's just my expectations that are out there. I don't know. It's beautiful. And I love the company. Love, love, love the company. I think I picked up some of their yarn at EYF last year, Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And can I say, oh, they had ticket sales. Oh, I miss not going to Edinburgh this March. That was such a phenomenal trip. If anytime you can travel, go see the world. Go see history, go see modern civilization, just go see the world. It doesn't have to be this huge expensive trip overseas. Go to the next state over if you've never been there before. Go to your next province if you've never been there. You know, wherever you live, just go. Geraldine and I had the most amazing time, and it's difficult to watch everyone booking their trips and getting all excited for EYF, because Edinburgh was absolutely beautiful. Just you can feel the history permeate the roads and the buildings and everything. It's just gorgeous. We had a phenomenal time. So, if you're going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, you will have a fabulous time. Be sure to look at Garn Stories. Their yarn is beautiful. They did not have a booth last year. I believe I got it at Stephen and Penelope. But anyway, so really, I waited 45 minutes for that little tidbit of important information. So that's it. That is it for today. I can't believe it. I got through it. I only had to re-record tiny little bits. So progress. We are making progress. You can find me, Freshwater Fibers Knitting and Sewing Podcast. You can find me on Instagram, Freshwater Fibers Podcast. If you wanted to email me, freshwaterfibers@gmail.com. If you're interested in my fat wool company, you can find me there, www.fatwoolco.com. Oh, and I sent a donation to Al and Sal, the Wool Slayers. They have a camp coming up down in Texas in May, and they had recently stated on a recent, or they had said on a recent podcast, if you are a maker and would be interested in donating, contact us. So I contacted them about my knitting bags and my worsted weight yarn. They said yes, you know, we love the way it looks. They raved about it on their podcast today, number 39, I think it is, that just came out. And so I just thank you, ladies. Thank you, Al and Sal, for the glowing review. And I'm excited that you're excited and that you love my work or appreciated my work, I should say, and are excited to share it with your campers. So thank you. That was very kind of you. I appreciate that. So check out Al and Sal, the Wool Slayers. And check out their camp. They have space, I believe. If you can get to Texas in May, I believe they still have space. So that's it. So yeah, fatwoolco.com. And I don't know, we'll see what happens. Not much else you can do. So you deal with it. And I deal with it by crafting. Makes me happy. I hope this podcast made you happy and you appreciated seeing my work and sharing in what I do. And it's a good time to say goodbye. Bye!